It is happening again. Everything is falling apart. Everything is falling apart. Where are you? Would you come hold me today? Into the evening, in a place away from the world where no one can see, where no one can see. It is happening again. Everything is falling apart. Everything is falling apart. Where are you? Everything is falling apart. Everything is falling apart. Where are you?
I think actually it might be behaving itself. Have we got? Yes, we have finally got XJ up on speaker. I'm glad about that. I hope we have anyway. Indeed. Not for one to ramble unnecessarily about nothing, as you know. I will take another vocal pause and I want to bring Ed up on the microphone too. I'm very interested to hear what Ed's content is. Hopefully we can get him.
Do you see my hand?
I
you see my
do.
hand?
Going south. Bear with me if you can, my friend. I certainly do. We will get that microphone over to you in a couple of seconds, indeed. Will I take a pause? Going south. What would you like to share with us in the room, my friend, before I get to my friend Lost and Ikche?
Yeah, I was just worried that I was invisible to everybody else. Okay. Well, being direct, it was of course a secret, the secret of the success of the Vikings when they went to battle. I won't say I'm proud of what my forefathers there did, storming England and monasteries and stuff, but they were direct. I don't think anyone doubts that they were direct, and so I will be direct. I believe that spending minutes and minutes, hours and hours talking about ourselves and each other in these spaces kind of goes against the topic of the hour or of the space. So if we could, not talk about the people in the room, to quite such a big extent, and talk more about which ideas we have about the topic, which is normal. That is a way to kind of come faster to our goal, whatever that goal is, right? And then I would advise that that we kind of broaden the scope of where the solution is, right? Because you don't throw a space with a question if you already have the answer. I don't think, and I do believe in the tradition of, let's say, academic debate or whatever, that allowing for um, more, uh, let's say, plausible futures, let's say, more options for the solutions, maybe even options for how to interpret what's happening. Uh, that tends to bring on the best conclusions and answers and stuff. So don't be so afraid that somebody has a different ID or understands something differently. because that was never what the university was about. This was never what the free and open debate was about. And one of the reasons the West was better than the East during the Cold War and stuff was exactly that we were allowed in the West to debate in the universities and in the student associations and stuff, and together, come to the best answers to many questions. Then I would just allude to the what do you call the not the purple pill but the upside pill thing, where I posted a graph and some stuff about the ice. You can't see it if you don't click it, but on the let's say on the blue line in the graph, I have inserted the different COP numbers: COP 29, COP 28, COP 27, COP 26, COP 25. And I did that half humorously and half serious, to allude to how the COPs, the COP conferences, the climate conferences, don't seem to have ended the course of the downgoing graph of the ice, does it? It's useless. It's number 30. Their 30th attempt is coming up this November, December. And we should just stop it. We should save the CO2 for flying private jets and stuff to that conference. We should save the rainforest. They're building a special climate conference motorway through the rainforest in Amazonas. That shit has to go, right? And we should be open and what's your word, Robert? We should be open and clear that that shit is not accepted anymore. We talk and talk on this basis, so we're kind of guilty ourselves, but we should not accept that people who don't even have the ambition or the plan or the will to change anything when they go there. They should not be allowed to fly there. There should just be a no-fly zone over the COP30 venue, in my opinion. And we shouldn't stop there. We should also, okay, maybe I get some enemies now, but we should also pull out of the Paris Agreement because that's also crap. Only because it's crap, not because it wanted to do something for the climate, but just because it's just the wrong tool, and it isn't binding, and everybody can just chicken out of it. And it doesn't matter if you chicken out of it by pulling out of it like Trump did, or you chicken out of it like the UK and EU did by just stop caring about it. It's just a ruse or a mirage for the people to be fooled into thinking that the leaders are actually doing something which they are not. Not this decade, not the previous decade, not in any decade since the 90s and 80s when I started this climate campaign. They've never done anything, and I come from Norway, so I can say with my hand on my chest that they never do anything but destroy nature. Thank you.
Well, indeed, my friend, never true words said. Um, I think everyone knows my opinion on the failure of the COP process. It should have been disbanded years and years ago. It is the sickest of travesties in our global societies. It gets talked about to death. It gets talked about. Let's put it like this. This is, as I've said many times before, the definitive words on what I feel is the sack of shite that the COP process is. The entire process is definitively not fit for purpose. I have a lot more to share in it, but I do want to take a vocal pause. But to get to Alex, who has his hand up again. Alex, I welcome you back to the microphone. What would you like to share with the room, my friend?
Thanks. Yeah, we will hear from Lost Nietzsche at some point for sure. I I think certainly the content about food, farming, agriculture, all of the above that Ed specializes in is extremely important to the discussion. No question.
Yeah.
The Paris Agreement, the COP, they're in place. They're real things that governments have worked on. They're there. We're not tearing them down. They're not disappearing. They're there. We could discuss, if we did tear them down, what would be better ways of going forward without them as a thought experiment and the future. But the reality is, these huge organizations are in place. The COP will happen in Brazil this year, and that's that. No amount of hand wringing or worrying or complaining is stopping that COP from happening in Brazil. So we have to do the best we can with the reality on the ground. Clearly, they're not getting enough done, the COP and the Paris Agreement. Clearly, we all agree on that. But how do we get them to do more with what's in place rather than demanding we burn it all down? I also think, again, those are government agencies, both of them, the United Nations, so the group of governments that go and have their meetings and do diplomacy and talk. That's government. You can't let the corporations off the hook for 1 second. The $12 trillion, that of business that big oil does every year, most nations don't make that much money. You can't let them off the hook. Outside of the US and China, as a matter of fact, no nations make as much money as big oil. So corporations and governments always have to be looked at together with the people. The people in these huge democracies are complicit as well. Those three groups, I said it the last time I spoke, you can't just talk about one group and leave the other two out. It's all three are complicit in our problems as well as in our solutions and our answers. It's all three of those groups have to be addressed at the same time. The public, the corporations, the governments. So it's fine and well to complain about the COP. God knows I've done it for quite a while here, and we do it every November. That's fine. All environmentalists complain about the COP. They suck. They're in Azerbaijan. They're in Egypt. People are flying there. All the fossil fuel executives are there. They're drinking Coca-Cola. Yeah, the COPs are bullshit, but they are in place. We have to work with what's in place to get to that better place. The same thing for the Paris Agreement. The other thing about the social stuff, I've come in here personally, for 4 years now, and one of the things I've discovered in looking at why isn't Greenpeace working, why isn't the Green Party working? Both those organizations have the right idea in principle. But after 50 years or whatever, we're not getting the results. This has been one of my major experiments. Why hasn't Greenpeace succeeded? Huge, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars put into Greenpeace, not many results. Why? And one of the biggest answers I come up with is social. They're clearly not working well together over there. And I look at you guys, the environmentalists, including the people in this room, but the much broader environmental Twitter. Why can't they get along? It's unbelievable. The Lost Nick J know exactly what I'm talking about. The amount of squabbling around here, it's gotten better. Over the 2.5 years of Spaces, compared to a year and a half ago, it's so much better. But environmentalists need that social aspect. It's a major part of the solution in my book. I might be wrong. I always admit I might be wrong. But the way I see it, the way I'm going, what my instincts tell me is social is a big part of the answer here. Is getting environmentalists to be unified and positive and not infighting every 5 minutes. So compared to a year and a half ago, these spacers are so much more harmonious and even 2.5 years ago, I'm really thinking of. So the social part is a major key, and that involves involving everybody in this room. You're all involved in my book, I'm sure in Robert's book, and certainly in Lost Nick J's book. Everyone here is involved in this process. And we've got to work together whether we like it or not. And it's a social media, it's social audio. And this has been what I've been good at, is social organizing. I've been to 1 million parties, 1 million nights in a bar, 1 million nights in nightclubs. Most of these environmentalists just haven't socialized as much as I have. So to keep that party going, that nameless English rock star that hosted the Extinction Rebellion space in 2023 that I just shamelessly copy what he did. But as a general host, the social part is important. Um, Involving everybody in the room, making this more fun, getting people to actually relate as friends. That another problem with Greenpeace is how much business it is. They're fighting, they're there to make money, they're coldly impersonal. They don't live like human beings over there. They're not like the village. I certainly want these spaces to be like the village, like the family, like a community. So we do fight, we get angry, we get happy, and that's why the social side is a big, big important side here. There are limitations within that we were discussing extensively yesterday. They can't turn into group therapy. They can't go overboard on 20-minute speeches about picking flowers in the 70s that we've heard relentlessly. So I think those were the issues. The debate thing does not work here either. Believe me. It took me a long time to. People love to point, counterpoint. I take A, you take B, and we fight. It does not work in climate spaces, not to my experience. People block each other, they hate each other, they never talk again. It blows up spaces. It's a favorite trick of trolls. They come in here, they get to the speaker, they open the mic and attack someone. I've seen that 1,000 times. So that I don't allow in my space any debate at all. You present what you have to say, and the other speakers, if they wish, can analyze and look over what you said. That's our format. When we have debate, in my spaces, it's complete disaster. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about from experience. We're just not competent enough to hold a good debate. People get furious and angry at each other, insist they're wrong, insist they're right, and it becomes A versus B, and a very European duality that's not universal in the slightest, and it doesn't work in these climate spaces. I don't know if Robert's policy is quite aligned with that, but that's strongly my policy. And that's one of our best accomplishments over in our Saturday space is getting rid of the whole debate, point counterpoint attitude. I take A, you take B, let's debate it. That we don't do that at all. It doesn't work here. Maybe in the future we'll actually be able to do that a little bit, but in this format, it hasn't worked at all. I think, Robert, that you're working hard on developing your spaces, and as they grow and form, and we know what's going on, this open mic format you
Yeah.
use has some advantages, it has some disadvantages. So I hand that mic to you, and thank you for your work. And I'm curious to see how you like your spaces to be.
Indeed, Alex. Thank you for those words, brother. Indeed, I won't tolerate what I call, which is so prevalent. I know when we have open debates, I have no need to want to encompass it any more in my spaces, Alex, than yours. I do find exactly the same thing. I do fundamentally, I'm alas to have to say that I do find that when the human species starts to debate, all hell breaks loose, and it descends proverbially down the toilet in so many ways. I don't want it to be like that, but as I've said, I just feel there is a necessary need for so many of us to actually be, how can I put this, intellectually restrained enough and mentally well-mannered enough not to bring an all-encompassing rabble-style tactic or tactics when we communicate with each other. There is absolutely no fundamental need to disintegrate and dissolve mentally amongst your fellow people just because you do not agree with their opinion. There is every mental need on this earth for you to remain composed, for you to remain well-mannered, and for you to remain, to have the ability to understand just why manners were given in the first place to us as a human species. Manners are there to be used, to be exercised, to be understood amongst your fellow people. If you cannot use restraint and manners, then you do not have the ability, in my book, to communicate with each other. So I want that to be known in all my room spaces. I welcome manners, good conduct, civility, organization, understanding, empathy, decency, and an all-encompassing level of being able to collectively communicate at levels which bring civility within all conversations of which we have within these room spaces. Anything less will not be tolerated by me. It is pure and simple. So indeed, to reiterate Alex's points, yes, brother, I do share those sentiments entirely. And I will say that any room space that cannot conduct itself with civility does not deserve to be there. It is as simple as that. I want to get to Hans. So as we move on, I take a definitive, or should I say a vocal pause, because I want to go with Going South. And then I will go with Deirdre, Ed, and then Dr. Khan. And I do want to hear from Ikche, so I am praying. And I do use the word praying that Ikche's connection holds good, because I do want to hear from my dear brother. Indeed, Going South, the microphone is all yours, my friend. What would you like to share with us in the room?
Thank you, Robert. So about the extractivism that you very briefly touched upon last, people who are familiar with Norway, countries like Norway and England, who are oil and gas extractors, right? They know very well, especially the Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion types, know very well that the government is the party that's paying the oil companies for exploring and finding more oil and gas, right? So they give the allowances, licenses, whatever, and they also pay them billions every year to go and look for more oil. So the point could be made that the same governments that hold these huge circuses around the world for the conference of the parties, the COP conferences, climate negotiations, they do that with one hand, and with the other hand, they carry huge suitcases of $1,000 bills, if such a thing exists, to the very oil companies who are carrying on like nobody's business, or like there's no tomorrow, or whatever the expression is. So just keep that in mind. It's not like it's corporations doing their thing and governments doing their thing. They sleep together every single night with their clothes off, right? Thank you, and I hope everybody respects each other. And I certainly hold no grudges against my Turtle Island neighbors, and I also deeply respect my hosts here in Greenland, who are the indigenous people, who are fortunately in a majority for the government and that kind of stuff. It makes politics a little bit more down to earth and sensible up here. Thank you.
Love is surrender.
Patience with the body, untying the scars and letting them go. Cells afflicted by crises, identity. You reap what I sow. Love is surrender, basking in the light of the embers, fading nights. Love is surrender of a heart once turned to stone, to render our tender flesh and bone to dust. Fire, walk with me into the dark. I long to see. Fire, walk with me into the dark. I long to see.